Bloomberg World Headquarters in New York, this is In the Loop with Betty Lou.
It's a Monday, but it's still time for our weekly look at the top headlines business professionals are reading on LinkedIn. Something to start your day with. Well, joining us now with the highlights is the social network senior editor John Abell. John, Michael Dell finally posted his first article as an influencer.
That's correct.
It got a lot of attention, right?
It did get a lot of attention, and rightly so. Look, Michael Dell founded a company which was at the birth of the PC. PC changed the world in a way nothing has since maybe the wheel.
By the way, I just want to point out what that article is, because we're just looking at the board there. Entrepreneurs are the engine, technology is the fuel. That's what he wrote.
That's what he wrote, right. So he has now taken the company private again, and he feels liberated and excited. He feels like he's running a startup again, and he really is. It's a big challenge ahead for PCs and going into mobile and stuff like that. But it's like the dorm room again. He's the guy in charge of a company where he can do pretty much anything he wants without dealing with shareholders and nasty reporters.
You know, it's interesting because people think of Michael Dell as from the era of Bill Gates, you know, Steve Jobs, but he's only 48 years old.
Well, they were all kids in college. They were all sort of dorm room garage type people, and he's one of them. Personally, I think sort of undersung in the panoply of people. We talk about Gates, we talk about Jobs.
Exactly.
Here's a guy who commoditized something which became a commodity, was almost sowing the seeds of his own destruction. But because it's a commodity, because the PC was able to go everywhere and help people with almost nothing do things and empower themselves, it changed the world.
Okay, a couple of other stories that we want to highlight, including the one on Tesla, which, of course, Tesla made such big news. Well, New Jersey made big news on Tesla last week.
Exactly right.
This article, 696,749 reasons New Jersey sided against Tesla.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, Tesla is a very hot commodity. The stock is a momentum stock that goes crazy. People say it's overpriced. But the car is incredible. Anybody who's ever driven one or owns one drools while they talk about it.
It's a nice toy.
They sell, you know, a lot, and they've sold actually quite a bit in New Jersey. And in other places where, by the way, they're planning on putting a factory.
Well, what's the 696,000 number referencing?
Well, the dealers there, the dealers there, depending on how you want to look at this, are favored. So this is sort of like an oligopoly type situation where the dealers say, look, the law is, you have to have a dealership between the consumer and the manufacturer. Sadly, that's the way it is. Tesla knew that and couldn't get an exception and hasn't worked the halls of the legislature enough. So sadly, that's the way it's going to be. But this is a classic situation where if you're pro-business, sometimes you have to decide, what does that mean? Are you pro-status quo? Or are you pro-entrepreneur? And people are picking sides now because Tesla is the disruptive entrepreneur, changing everything and doing well with a product people love. But you have established business and, you know, they're there.
Right. They'd like him to be a little more conventional thinking when it comes to actually selling
And because
these
it's
cars.
not going to happen, this is why people say, look, it's not going to happen. We're not going to have dealerships in the traditional sense for a very long time. This is a special product. It's almost not a car. It's something different.
Yeah.
So you don't need that model. So it's not going to be that way. Ergo, are you going to back the entrepreneur, which is what Musk is saying? You're not doing that. Or are you going to back the established business? Both are pro-business, but which part are you going to pick?
He does like to portray it as a David and Goliath fight.
Well, he certainly is having fun doing that, isn't he?
All right, and as you can well imagine, some of the stories that are trending on LinkedIn have to do with this Boeing 777. And that's disappeared. And one of the headlines coming out, Boeing 777 airplanes do not vanish or fall out of the sky. I think that's a big question everyone has.
It's a huge question. And look, this is an unspeakable tragedy. There are hundreds of families that have no idea what happened to their loved ones, and we don't even know when they might know. On LinkedIn, the story quickly turned into the technology. How is it possible for a jumbo jet to disappear in 2014? It's not. We had an author who's a member. We've opened up the platform to members now who can write in long form. He is a former Assistant Secretary of Transportation in the Clinton administration and a professor at Howard University now. And he wrote 5 days ago that it kind of is impossible for this to disappear. And this was days before evidence emerged that somebody had to turn things off before they moved the plane. So he was way ahead of the story.
Interesting.
And not just a guy off the street, Oliver McGee, he is actually, this is his wheelhouse. And he stepped up and used the new platform that we have, the new publishing tool that we have in order to write about this.
We should have brought him on then to talk about
Well, you ought
that.
to get in touch with him.
All right, John, thank you so much for joining us. John Abell, the senior editor at LinkedIn. And a reminder to check out my LinkedIn page at lnkd.in/Betty Lou.